Chapter 201, Entering World of Treacherous Shadows. Luna turned to the destruction Neo had laid with a single punch and looked back at Neo. "Malaka," she muttered under her breath. Neo stared at his fist. He could feel himself growing stronger with each second. Henry opened his mouth when he noticed Neo's expression. "That's the effect of the new technology we used for the surgery. We sealed the powers of the trident since it was too strong. Your body wouldn't have been able to handle it," Henry added. "Currently, you have used only 5% power of your bones. As long as you keep strengthening your body, the old god bones that have replaced your bones will give you more stats." "So that's how it is," Neo nodded. He moved around more to adjust to his new strength. After training for a few hours, he left the basement and had dinner with Henry and Morrigan. "Why is she still here?" Neo questioned. "Because a certain dumbass couldn't keep his ass at home and went around clearing windows even though he was under home arrest." Henry gave Neo a sharp glare. "The council's orders were changed after we appealed the case to them. They were going to give you a 5-year grace period, but of course, you had to break the rules. Now, you need a fiancé or else the Senate won't let go of this matter." "Oh. I don't. I've paid them 10 billion worth of assets as fine, fucking bitch. Maybe have some shame and think before you act." "Yeah, keep your mouth shut like that. Morrigan is your fiancé. The talk with the Zeus clan will start soon." Neo's brows creased. He couldn't help but feel betrayed. Before he could say anything, Morrigan opened her mouth. "It's not like we need to marry just because we are engaged. We can stall marriage until everyone loses interest, then break off the engagement. Until then, you will be free from being hounded to pump out offspring, and I'll get a way to get off my clan." Her words reasonable. Still, it was surprising Henry was okay with this arrangement. Why does he even want to tie my knot with her? Neo stopped speaking. Morrigan was beautiful, exceedingly so. She was smart, strong, and had a good character. A perfect life partner to say. "Fuck." Neo stood up. "Where are you going?" "I'm full. Discover worlds on Villa Ampere." He left the dining hall. Sighing, he walked out of the mansion and roamed the garden. "It's getting colder." Neo rubbed his hands while he stared at the moon. He took out his device. "Jack." "Me, when are you free?" "Jack." Jack, unsurprisingly, came online as soon as Neo sent him a message. A video call arrived. Neo picked the call. A hologram appeared above his device, showing him Jack, Arthur, Sean, and Clara. They were in the library. Arthur and Clara had fallen asleep while Sean was flipping through books. "What are you guys doing late at night in the library?" Neo questioned. "Looking for weaknesses of death and darkness element users," Jack said. "We were creating a plan to take you down." Neo smiled as he shook his head. "Where are Felix and Mars? I don't see them with you." Jack's face hardened. He answered a few seconds later. "They are training. Mars is helping Felix." "Oh," Neo nodded. "Seems like Felix is having a hard time adjusting to the true soul weapon." "Yeah." Jack stopped speaking. His eyes widened. "How do you know about that?" "They plan to keep the news secret from Neo. It could become a trump card in their battle. After all, Neo should never have been able to guess Mars gave the weapon to Felix. Stop being surprised at every little thing." Neo berated Jack. "Also, instead of trying to take me by surprise, try to help Felix. True soul weapons aren't easy to tame. I doubt Felix would be able to use it before our duel." "Got it." Jack nodded with an awkward smile. The two talked for a few minutes before Jack spoke with a serious gaze. "So why did you message me?" He stared at Neo carefully as if studying his expression. "Damn it, so Felix was right." Neo frowned, confused. He hadn't said a word. "Why do you think I called you as soon as you messaged me? I knew you were going to ask me this." "What are you talking about?" "You want me to help you enter the world of shadows." Neo's eyes widened slightly. He hadn't expected them to know what he was planning. Jack wanted to give a smug smile as he had managed to surprise Neo, but he couldn't since he knew what kind of place the world of shadows was. "How did you know?" Neo asked. "You told us you can't control your shadow element. So we thought, Felix thought, you would try to go to the world of shadows and meet the supreme deity of shadow to ask for a solution to your predicament. Do you take me for some kind of maniac? Why would I try to meet the supreme deity for such a small matter? Are we wrong?" Last week, you started entering the windows. I bet you were searching for a damaged window to see if you could enter the world of shadows through them. Neo massaged the back of his neck with one hand and sighed. Fine. That's my plan. Supreme Deity of Shadows is friendlier than other supreme deities. He will help if everything goes right. Friendly. You call that friendly? Jack almost lashed out until he recalled others were sleeping. He covered his face with both hands and sighed. I'll help you, damn it. It's better than leaving you on your own. Meet me at the station tomorrow noon. Thanks. Thanks me after everything is done. Neo cut the call and pocketed his device. He shook his head with a bitter smile. By now, Jack must have gained high mastery in using the key we found in the window. With his help, I can enter the world of shadows easily. Neo played with the device in his pocket. World of treacherous shadows. It was among the most welcoming, yet the deadliest elemental worlds. I should be able to find my shadow with this. Even if I don't find my shadow, the Supreme Deity will be able to answer what is wrong with my shadow element. Neo closed his eyes and focused inwards. He tried to convert his divine energy into shadow elemental. There was no response. His current state was no different from someone who had not awakened the shadow element. However, he could stay inside shadow windows without safety gear. It was only possible for those who had awakened the shadow element. Neo had talked about his problem with professors from the academy. Chapter 202, Entering World of Treacherous Shadows 2. No one could tell what was wrong with Neo's shadow element. The only explanation they had was Neo's shadow element was, somehow, stuck in a half-awakened state. Something that was impossible. I'll find out the answer soon. He returned to the mansion when it got chilly. After taking a shower, he turned to the bed for sleep. Next morning, he had a short breakfast. Where are you going? Morgan questioned him just as he was hurrying to leave before Henry caught him. Because Henry wouldn't let him go if he told him where he was going. I'm going for training, he answered ambiguously. Stay safe, Morgan said as she leaned against the wall. The Supreme Deity of Shadows isn't hostile to outsiders. But it won't help you as easily as you think. How did you know where I was going? Felix told me a week ago that you will try to enter the world of shadows soon. I just felt like you were going there today. Felt. Neo almost rolled his eyes. Well, I guess it makes sense. She doesn't know I know about her fate affinity. So she can't say how she knows I'm going to the world of shadows today. Be back on time. The second semester will start in a few days, Morgan said. Neo was thankful to her since she didn't try to stop or impede him. After leaving the mansion, Neo visited a high-end potion shop. He bought 50 vials of the highest quality of diviner energy replenishment elixir his body could handle. Since he was a grade 5 mythic demigod, he couldn't drink elixirs which were too strong. Or he would burst like a balloon. He had to buy elixirs that were suitable for demigods of his rank. He purchased another 50 bottles of healing elixir. There were elixirs for temporary boosts for different stat boosts, but Neo did not buy them. Consuming too many elixirs could harm his future growth. Besides, the stat boosts weren't anything substantial. It was good for average demigods, but for someone like Neo, it was too weak. Using stronger elixirs could solve such problems. However, a single vial of stronger elixir was a lethal dose for demigods if his rank. He would burst as soon as he consumed them. After buying a few more essentials, Neo met with Jack at the station. Why are you carrying all that? Jack questioned with a confused gaze. I don't have shadow space. Right? Jack nodded. Give them to me. Jack stored the items inside his shadow space. Neo looked around. You came here alone. Yeah, I didn't tell anyone you were going to Shadow Window. They were planning to stop you. So I sneaked out without telling them you were doing it today. Thanks, I guess. I don't need thanks. Give me something else, Jack said. Let me come with you to the world of shadows. No. Before Neo could refuse, Jack took out his device and dialed Arthur's number. It was an open blackmail. Fine. You can come with me. Neo clicked his tongue. If Arthur and others knew he was going to the world of shadows, they would definitely stop him or inform Henry. But I won't take a guarantee for your life, Neo added. I won't rescue you if you die again this time. Don't worry about it. I've already taken proper precautions, Jack said mysteriously. The two entered the station. They took a bullet train to Pelgana City. Why Pelgana? Neo questioned. We have to enter a shadow window to enter the world of shadows. There is no shadow window in Pelgana City. Just come with me. There is something I have to show you before we head towards the world of shadows. The journey lasted a few hours. The bullet train dropped them off at their destination. Jack called for a taxi with familiar ease. Where to, sir? The taxi driver questioned. Dre Complex. It's near Gragglejuel statue in the south sector, Jack said. How much will you take? $1,000 for both of you. Do you think this is the time we are coming here? This is my hometown. The fare is only $300 for Dre Complex. The taxi driver realized Neo and Jack weren't tourists. The prices increased, sir. Though, if you insist, I'll take only $800 from you. $300. We won't pay a penny more. Neo felt there was no need to bargain and was about to give the money to the driver. He stopped himself at the last second. When did I gain the habit of splurging money? I used to bargain for every last dollar, and now I'm spending thousands like it is nothing. He shook his head, embarrassed to have nearly lost his title of haggling lord. Jack and the taxi driver settled at $450 in the end. The driver opened the door for Neo and Jack. So, care to tell where we are going? My home. Jack looked out of the window at the forest beyond the road. My family wanted to. Thank you. For what? Neo had an idea, but he asked the question nonetheless. It's for the labyrinth and the window. My dad will tell you the complete details. The taxi driver dropped them off before a dilapidated mansion. It had 3 floors and a large garden. However, it was clear that no one had been maintaining the garden. The rest of the pace wasn't better. Even the paint on the mansion was starting to fall off. Welcome, my cutie. A woman, her features similar to Jack, hugged Jack as soon as he entered. She squeezed the life out of him and turned to Neo. Welcome, Sir Divine Ruler. Neo is enough. We can't be rude to someone who brought salvation to our house, Jack's mother smiled. Please come inside. She took Neo and Jack to another room before serving them tea and snacks. Few minutes later, a man entered the room. He was thin, almost only bones. His emerald eyes, however, had a fiery determination behind them. I'm sorry for being late, Sir Divine Ruler. There were some matters to attend to. It's fine. Neo didn't bother telling them to use his name anymore. He stared at Jack from the corner of his gaze. Unlike what he had expected, Jack had a serious expression and he was not laughing at Neo for being called by his title. Please, sit, Jack's father said. Stay tuned for stories on MVLM, PIR. The man had an uncanny power behind his words. Despite his appearance that suggested he was weak, Neo could tell he had no chance of victory against the man. They talked about their academy and the courses. The man looked at Neo with a serious gaze after a few minutes of idle talk. There is a reason why we asked Jack to bring you here. Jack's father turned to the door where Jack's mother was standing with a book in her hand. He nodded. She brought the book and placed it before Neo. Please take this as a gift for defeating the Niles Radcliffe, the necromancer you encountered inside the window. Neo remained silent. Chapter 203, Terror-Ranked Spell, Black Dawn of Darkness. Entering World of Treacherous Shadows 3. Watching him, Jack's father spoke. It was our family's duty to defeat the Niles Radcliffe. However, we were too weak to do that. He continued. The burden that had been shackling our family for hundreds of years has finally disappeared. It's all because of you. This spell is our family heirloom. Please accept it as our thanks. Neo looked at the book. He picked it up and flipped through the pages. The pages were filled with theoretical knowledge, subshell diagrams, and extra notes for detailed explanation. Our ancestor made this spell. Since then, every generation's patriarch has made slight changes to the spell and continued to improve it. The man smiled. You can take it without worrying that it will be useless. It's a terror-ranked spell, Black Dawn of Despair. Neo looked at Jack's father. Terror-ranked. Although he didn't say it outright, his words were obvious enough. Indeed, our family heirloom is a terror-ranked spell. Yes, it's a powerful spell, but the user needs to have high mastery in the darkness element to use it. None of our clan members could achieve it except the originator of the Hanma bloodline, Nyx Hanma. And since it would have caused great turmoil if others knew we had a terror-ranked spell, we kept the news hidden until now. Neo nodded. He read the spell details written in the book. Temporarily turns day into night, enhancing the power of darkness-based allies, inducing madness and causing spiritual damage to enemies. Turn day into night. The description was astounding. Neo knew it was something to be expected from terror-ranked spells. "Thank you," Neo said and took the spell book. "You don't need to thank us, Sir Divine Ruler. It's us who are in your debt. If you need anything else, please do not hesitate to question us. There is something I'd like to know. And that is, why didn't the patriarch of the Hanma bloodline defeat the necromancer before he ascended to godhood?" Jack's father stared at Neo for a few seconds. His fierce gaze bore holes into Neo, and he sighed a few seconds later. "Our progenitor was a woman. Only a bit of time had passed when the necromancer was sealed and she became a god. In fact, our matriarch was one of the first awakeners to become a god. She attained godhood before great god Zeus and great god Poseidon, even before the Akashic records were created." Neo could feel the pride behind Jack's father's words as he explained the details. In the Age of Gods, the world was going through an upheaval. Our matriarch, Nyx, was one of the pillars who defended the world. She didn't have time to unseal and defeat the necromancer when worse threats were threatening the peace, Jack's father said. "Read the latest only on MV, LMP, YR. Why didn't she do it when the peace returned? Because she had ascended. No, it's because she was dead." Jack, who was sitting on the side, suddenly sighed. Jack's father glared at him, forcing Jack to look away. The man clicked his tongue and turned to Neo. "Our matriarch died before the Akashic record was created. There is no proof of any of her great deeds. Everything I've told you is an oral record that has been passed through our family." Neo nodded. During the Age of Gods, cities were destroyed almost every day. There was no way any written piece of information could have survived the aftermath of the battles that happened between Awakeners endlessly. The only exception was the Akashic record. Akashic record, the compendium of all knowledge, was eternal. Anything written in it could never be destroyed. It was why the Akashic record was called Hope. The discussion continued. Jack and Neo left the Hanma mansion few hours later. "Your parents are nice," Neo said. "I know," Jack muttered, "but my old man talks too much." "Well, so do you." Neo kept his thoughts to himself. The two took another bullet train to Sullivara City. On the way, Jack kept looking at his device nervously. "What happened?" "They are calling me." He smiled bitterly and showed Neo the screen. "The cat is out of the bag. They know I'm trying to help you enter the world of shadows." "Oh, good luck." Jack wanted to cry when he heard Neo's uninterested answer. Felix was going to skin Jack alive for doing exactly what she had told him not to do, and Neo, whom Jack was helping, had no intention of saving Jack. Arriving at Sullivara City, the two took a taxi for Orienthar's south side sector. There, a shadow window had appeared 2 days ago. "Did you book that window?" Jack questioned. "Yeah." Neo muttered as he stared at his own device. "Henry. Henry, good luck." "Henry." Neo let out a helpless smile. Henry knew where he was. "So." Jack dragged his words. "I'm pretty sure the association's rule is that only a party of 5 demigods or more is supposed to enter the window. Where are the rest of the people?" "They will come a few hours later. I have bribed them." Neo had joined a temporary adventurer team at Sir Sebastian's recommendation. Since they worked under his family, he could order them as he wished. "Let's go." Neo and Jack entered the window. Jack winced when he felt the overwhelming amount of shadow elementals in the air. His face contorted. "What's the plan now?" Jack questioned. "We'll find a corner, and you will use your key to widen the corner and open a passage to the world of shadows." "What about the window?" "If we don't close it, the shadow monsters will invade our world. The adventurer team I'm affiliated with will close the window a few hours later from now." The duo scoured the window and searched for the corners. Be it Neo's luck or coincidence, they found the corner only after reaching depth level 5, the deepest part of the window. "We ended up defeating the shadow monsters on our own," Jack said. He sat on the ground, tired. His limbs were sprawled, and his chest heaved up and down unevenly. The two were only a few meters away from the corner. "We should rest for some time and recover our divine energy before entering the shadow world," Jack said in between his gasps. He added, "Elemental worlds don't have pure divine energy. They have only elemental divine energy. You know what that means, right? The world of shadows will have only shadow element infused divine energy present inside it. Neo, you won't be able to recover any divine energy you spend inside the world of shadows, since there won't be any pure divine energy for you to absorb." Jack's expression worsened as he talked. Saying those words was making him realize they were doing something completely batshit. I can absorb the shadow element infused divine energy since I have awakened my shadow element, Jack explained. Besides, shadow element can mimic other elements. What I'm trying to say is, I can use mimic elements. My combat ability will be more or less the same inside the world of shadows. But it will be different for you since you can't absorb shadow element divine energy. Don't worry about it, Neo said. I've brought elixirs. That's not really helpful. You can use one elixir only once every 12 hours. That's the same as saying for every 12 hours you can go all out only once, or you'll risk emptying your divine energy pool. Neo wasn't worried. While it was true a large portion of his divine energy was being used to nourish the hell inside him, he still had an overwhelmingly large reservoir of divine energy. He shouldn't have any problem inside the world of shadows. I've rested enough. Let's go. Jack sprang to his feet. He turned to the corner. The crack in the space was as unnerving as ever. He stood next to it and closed his eyes. Black lines, similar to circuitry diagrams, appeared on his hands. His palms hovered above the corner. Beads of sweat rolled down his cheek. For a moment, nothing happened, then shadows suddenly sprang from within the corner and engulfed them. Neo woke up. His head throbbed painfully. He sat up, looking around. Floor made of black tiles and an endless dark sky. This is not the world of shadows, he muttered. You are correct, Neo Hargraves. He snapped his head towards the source of the sound. The life-sized cloth doll standing in front of him bowed. Welcome, Neo Hargraves. I'm A number 22, a gatekeeper of the world of treacherous shadows. It stared at him in the eye. The doll's lifeless eyes and unmoving lips were unnerving. Where is my friend? I presume you are talking about Jack Hanma who entered from the same passage as you. Yes. The doll nodded in understanding. Chapter 204, Crossing into the Age of Gods. I presume you are talking about Neo Hargraves who entered the same passage as you. Yes, Jack answered. The doll, E number 23, nodded in understanding. Neo Hargraves is going through a qualification test at another site. Qualification test. An agreement should be a better word in your language, the doll said. The Shadow Supreme is a generous ruler. He doesn't attack anyone just because they enter his world. Instead, he gives them a chance. A trial. If you complete the trial, he will fulfill your wish. You can ask for anything. Did you enter the world of treacherous shadows by mistake? Then the Shadow Supreme will help you go return to your world. Do you want desire power? Then, the Shadow Supreme shall make you the strongest. Is there someone you want to kill? The Shadow Supreme will erase them. The doll added. All you have to do is complete the trial of Supreme and prove yourself worthy. Jack took a few moments to digest the words of the gatekeeper. Yeah, this place is damned crazy. I don't think there is another elemental world that invites invaders like this. The Shadow Supreme was too welcoming. The fact that he fulfilled one wish of the invader if they completed his trial was suspicious. Forget it. It's not like I can do anything about it. Jack shook his head and posed a question. So what's the agreement about? It's something you must agree to before we start the trial, the doll said. As I've told you, the Shadow Supreme is a generous ruler. The trials he gives reap omnipotent rewards. However, the trials are made to be difficult so as to match the level of the rewards. Due to the high difficulty, the Shadow Supreme understands not everyone wants to participate in the trial. We won't force you. Only if you agree to enter the trial will we start the trial. This is the qualification test, the doll explained. It's quite simple, Jack thought. What happens if I reject the agreement? The doll stared at Jack silently. You will be treated as an intruder. The doll appeared before Jack as if she had teleported and slashed with her hand. Jack's neck was separated from his body. Uff. Jack clutched his neck, breathing heavily. I'm alive, he said. But I was beheaded a moment ago. That is what will happen to you if you become an intruder. I hope you will make the right choice. The doll bowed. A bitter smile appeared on Jack's face. So the qualification test is a ruse. We don't have a choice but to accept it. Or they will kill us. Jack shook his head. The shadow world was still friendly. It wasn't attacking them as soon as they entered, at least. I want to enter the trial, Jack said. Very well. The doll snapped her fingers. Jack felt a sense of weightlessness. Everything around him disappeared, turning into a dark void. He was falling toward a small beacon of light far below him. I wonder if Neo and I will have the same trial. Jack spoke to himself to calm his palpitating heart. He had no idea why Neo wanted to enter the world of shadows. Neo avoided the question whenever Jack asked him about it. Still, Jack followed Neo into the world of shadows. Blind trust. Jack thought to himself. Is it right to put my life on the line for someone else? A chuckle left his lips. It's not even a question. I'm going to help Neo no matter what. Jack hadn't forgotten the shadow window they entered in the academy. He was useless back then. Neo had died to save him. Jack knew Neo was immortal, but it didn't change the fact Neo saved him at the cost of his own life. I'm always depending on others. Jack's family had been chained by the duty of defeating the necromancer. Neo saved them from the burden. Jack was thankful to Neo, but it did not mean he didn't loathe his own weakness. Always. I'm the one receiving help. Jack had to be stronger. To stop depending on others. To help his friend who had been helping him until now. I'll complete the trial. Just as the thoughts strengthened his determination, Jack reached the beacon of light. It was a hole in the dark void, revealing a destroyed city on the other side. Celine. Celine. The child, barely 13, cried. His knees were scraped and his clothes were torn, covered in soot. He walked through the abandoned city, searching for his little sister. Celine. He shouted. Where are you? Neo opened his eyes with a groan. He massaged his temples. Where am I? The gatekeeper sent him to another location without even telling him what the trial was about. Neo looked around. He was in the middle of a destroyed road. The place had multiple craters, broken buildings, and shattered cars. It looks like a war happened in this place. Neo jumped, using his superhuman strength to reach the top of the tallest structure in the vicinity. The city was in the same condition as the road. Crumbling buildings, cracked roads, and rusted cars. The sky was gray, casting a dim light over the ruins. Smoke rose from distant fires and silence pervaded the air. An ominous premonition crept into Neo's heart. I feel like I know where the Shadow Supreme sent me for the trial. He moved around the city. There was not a single soul alive. After searching for a bit, he found what he was looking for. A newspaper. Neo read the first page. Daily Titans. 26th October, 2062. Today 50 years had passed since the apocalypse began. The war between Awakeners is getting more intense. The monsters continue to invade. Neo closed the paper after reading it thoroughly. The first line was enough to tell him where he was. Fuck. I'm in the age of gods. He massaged his head. Is this really happening? Neo had not time traveled to the past. World of Shadows was a world that mirrored the real world. Everything that happened in the real world happened in Shadow World too. The only difference was, in Shadow World everything was made of shadow elemental. Be it air, water, buildings, humans, or monsters. Of course, since shadow elementals could mimic real objects, the objects in Shadow World were nearly identical to real worlds. They could do everything that a real object or entity could do. If I'm not recalling it wrong, the entities living in Shadow World don't know they are shadows. They think they are real. It was weird how the shadows thought they were real and had their own will. And still, everything they did was what had happened in the real world already. A shadow is but a mirror to the reality, he muttered, recalling what they were taught in the academy. Neo stood up. He scoured the place for more information. The Shadow World was a mirror that reflected everything happening in the real world. Then, how did Neo appear in the era of gods? Shadow Supreme could record events happening in Shadow World and use them later as a trial. Neo was inside one such recording. The information of the trial should be somewhere here. Only on MVLA MPYR. Neo continued his search. Hours later, he found a vault made of shadows. The vault opened as soon as he approached it. Inside, there was a folder and a bag filled with elixirs. Neo took out the file. The file had only one page. Only a single line was written on it. Trial, rescue the child of Mana before others. No information about where the child of Mana is, who the child of Mana is, or if there is a time limit to the trial. Goddamn it. He turned to the bag with elixirs. I gave this bag to Jack. Why is it here? Confused, Neo looked through the bag. It had a note inside it. Jack Han Ma is a shadow element user. Between him and you are the one who needs these elixirs. Neo frowned when he read the note. Demigods could use divine energy to sustain their bodies. Jack could eat the food and water inside the shadow world to sustain himself. But Neo couldn't. Everything here was made of shadow elemental, eating them wouldn't provide Neo pure divine energy. The elixirs were Neo's only hope. Fuck. Neo reread the note. His face contorted. A demigod of his rank could live for months without eating anything. The act of Shadow Supreme giving him something to sustain himself meant two things. The trial was going to take years, decades if Neo was unlucky, to complete. The level of difficulty was nightmarish. The Shadow Supreme wouldn't help him, by giving him the elixirs, unless the trial was astoundingly difficult. Fuck. Neo sighed. He massaged his brows. Not all was bad news. The time flowed differently in elemental worlds. Chapter 205, Naked Monster. Neo could spend a decade in Shadow World and only an hour would have gone by in the real world. The opposite is also true. I can spend an hour here and a decade might have passed in the real world. The time flow between different worlds is uneven, so I won't know how much time passed in the real world until I get out. He clicked his tongue. I guess I don't need to worry about time. The Shadow Supreme can manipulate the time flow between worlds to some extent. If I pass the trial and impress him, he will make sure only a short amount of time had gone by in the real world. It was a chance for Neo. He could use his time here to train himself. First thing first, I need to know where I am. Neo looked through the place for anything that would reveal his location. He found he was in Oran, a city in Algeria. After knowing his location, Neo planned his next move. He decided on 3 objectives. Search for Jack. Search for Child of Mana. Train myself. His brows creased. He tried to think of a solution to complete his objectives. Looking for Jack isn't easy. I don't know if he is in the same trial, or a different one. Even if he's in the same one, he could be anywhere. A different city. A different country. Or a different continent. He scratched his temple. Child of Mana. Thankfully I know what a Child of Mana is, but this makes things more complicated. Those beings are rarer than gods. Common people wouldn't even know what a Child of Mana is. If I want to search for one, my only clue is powerful organizations like Titans and the Awakener Association. Awakener Association was the name of the resistance in the current era. Joining either of the organizations wasn't easy. Not only were their entrance requirements strict, Neo was suspicious from their point of view. He was a powerful demigod, Awakener, who suddenly popped into existence. There is a high chance they will think I'm a monster. I can solve this issue by hiding my strength, but they wouldn't recruit me if I'm weak. He wanted to sigh. I need to train too. He roamed the place while thinking of a solution. An idea came to him when he was stargazing at midnight. This should work. The plan he came up with was simple. I need to spread my fame. If my name spreads far and wide, Jack can find me easily. Titans and the Awakener Association would also scout me if they hear of my strength instead of me going directly to them. He jumped down from the building and landed on the ground. Spider-like cracks appeared beneath his feet. Rescuing people is the best way to spread my fame in this era, he muttered. Neo took a random direction and started walking. There was no need to rush. It would only tire him. Besides, the Age of Gods was filled with bizarre monsters and anomalies. He had to be careful. Get the latest updates on MV Empire. It took him 2 days to come across a survivor. The old man, brown hair, had scars on his face and a bushy beard. He sat on the roadside, his back resting against the broken supermarket wall. He held his bleeding torso, breathing heavily. The man tensed up when he noticed someone approached him. Ah. A human. He relaxed after realizing Neo was a human. What are you doing here? The man questioned. Neo stared at him silently. This era didn't have a unified language. Countries had different languages each. Yet, I can understand him even though he is talking in a language I don't know about. A grace from the Shadow Supreme, perhaps. I'm a wanderer, Neo answered. The man's eyes widened. Wanderer. Are you perhaps an awakener? Only awakeners can roam cities without dying to monsters. Tears started to slip from the man's eyes. And finally, my prayers were answered. Before Neo could question the weird words of the old man, he heard an explosion. Turning his head, he found something approaching them at a fast pace. A naked statue. Neo muttered. Why is it running like a marathon runner? The statue's eyes had been fixed straight ahead when suddenly its gaze moved creepily and stared at the old man. "You saw my face. You saw my face." The running statue shouted. "You need to die. Anyone who sees my precious face is not allowed to live." The monster ran through the obstacles, pushing everything in its path aside. Its body remained unharmed. At the last spurt, the statue jumped high in the air. It landed next to Neo and the old man gracefully. Then, it pulled its one leg back as if preparing to kick a football, and aimed at the old man's head. Eek! The old man tried to run away. But the statue monster was faster. Just as the attack almost hit the old man, Neo grabbed the statue's leg. A shockwave, powerful enough to throw away the old man, erupted. The statue's eyes moved creepily. It stared Neo in the eye. "You saw my face. You saw my face. Blasphemer." The statue leapt into the air. Using the leg Neo had grabbed as leverage, it swung its other leg toward his head in a vicious kick. Neo caught the second leg mid-attack. Before the statue could react, he ripped its body apart as if it was a sheet of paper. Darkness bloomed from within his shadow. It devoured the monster. No stats. I didn't recover an ounce of divine energy either. Seems like I can't recover divine energy by eating devouring objects. The only option would be gaining divine energy stat. But with my luck, I'd rather not depend on it. Neo turned to the old man after completing his short experiment. "You all right?" "Why yeah." The old man's eyes sparkled like a child's. "Thank you for saving me. Can I know your name?" "Neo Hargraves." Neo pursed his lips, forcing the next words out of them. "I'm called Divine Ruler." "Right. That name matches with your majestic strength." Neo winced at the praise. "Keep it together. Jack will know it's me if he hears Divine Ruler's name. This is the best way to find him." He crouched next to the old man. "Let me look at your wounds." "It's fine. I don't have much time left." The old man tried to smile but failed miserably. "I'm happy enough that I can die like a human and not at the hands of a monster." Neo could tell it at a glance. He has no will to live. He frowned. Is this how people in this era were? Devoid of hope and will to live. Chapter 206, Fortified City. That can't be true. There were countless awakeners who fought the monsters and anomalies without backing down. They were the reason why peace returned. Then why was the man devoid of hope? Neo found the answer easily. He is a normal human, not an awakener. The awakeners had the power to defy fate and stand up against their enemies. But normal humans were different. Even the weakest monster could kill them easily. Just like how Neo had died when he encountered a zombie in his first life. "Old man, do you know where I can find a base of survivors? Does any base work?" "Yeah. I've heard the Azru has a good amount of survivors." The old man gritted his teeth through the pain and answered. "Apparently they've built the walls to keep the monsters out. What about your base? You can't be traveling alone." "The statute anomaly killed them and destroyed the base," he muttered, his voice growing weaker. "I escaped with my brother, but he was caught on the run." Neo nodded. "That is Rue City. You know the way to it." "Why yes." The old man was confused at Neo's answer. "Good, I saved your life. Now, pay me back by helping me reach that city." Neo curled his finger. Red lightning, materialized around the old man. Neo pulled that death into himself, temporarily stopping the deterioration of the old man's wounds and giving him a few more minutes to live. Something at this level consumed barely any divine energy. "What are you doing?" "Wait here." Neo entered the supermarket. He searched through the place for a few items. Needles. Found it. Sutures. Can't find them. I'll use threads from the clothing department. Clean water. I will use my element. He returned after searching for a few more items. These are not perfect, but they should be enough to treat your wound. But. Hold it, old man. The healing elixirs could have solved the problem. However, Neo had only divine energy elixirs. The healing ones were probably with Jack. I don't know who was the medic in your group, but this level of injury can be treated with emergency first aid. The blood loss is a problem though, so we need to reach Azru City quickly, or your wounds will deteriorate. Neo had intensive knowledge about medical treatment thanks to visions of Sphinx. He chuckled inwardly. Sphinx might be a bastard, but it still helped me greatly. The old man hissed in pain as Neo stitched the wound. Nonetheless, He was calm for someone who wasn't given painkillers. Good, this is enough. He stood up after treating the old man's wounds. We should rest for a few hours before we start moving. Why? Why are you helping me? I don't need a reason to help someone, he said. Besides, you'll help me increase my fame and give me information about this era. The old man, Cain, thanked him in tears. Read new chapters at MVL Novel Fire. The two talked for a few hours. Neo gained a lot of knowledge. The apocalypse had hindered communication between people greatly. The flow of information from just one city to another was almost impossible. The situation improved after the Titans brought reforms. However, a few decades ago, Mother Silence was born. The monster, Mother Silence, would kill anyone who used mass communication methods. Whenever someone published a newspaper or tried to post an article on your local internet band, they would inexplicably die. What decides something is a mass communication method. Does a newspaper I've printed for myself and myself only count? Mother Silence sounded powerful, but Neo knew there must be a drawback to its ability. All monsters in this era had a drawback. Divine energy, mana, forced everything and everyone to evolve. The sudden mutations made monsters and awakeners nigh omnipotent, but it left gaps in their abilities. It was similar to dumping all stats in strength or agility in a game. The game character would become strong, however, it would have paper-thin defense. Why aren't the Titans or Awakener Association dealing with Mother Silence? Neo questioned. I don't know, Cain shook his head. I've heard rumors, but they are too hard to believe. Go on. I'm all ears. While the two talked, Cain passed him some jerky. Neo shook his head, saying Awakeners don't need to eat much, and returned them to Cain. After all, the jerky, much like everything, was made of shadow elementals. It wouldn't fill Neo's stomach, and would rather cause him health problems if he forcibly tried to consume shadow elemental objects. Mother Silence has been slayed. Twice. They say there is one Mother Silence in every country. Even if the Mother Silences are killed, more are born. Born. Yes, Cain chuckled bitterly. The apocalypse is dangerous, but don't you find something strange? The monsters are too bizarre. I get how a lizard could mutate into a wyvern or drake, or an ant colony can evolve into 1,000 demon army. But what about Mother Silence? She is too bizarre to be an evolution of an animal. Not to mention her ability perfectly hinders our human society. It's almost like someone is creating those monsters and targeting us. Neo completed Cain's words. Yeah, Cain nodded. There is no official confirmation, but I think this is why they are called anomalies and the others monsters. The two prepared for a journey after they had enough rest. Is it okay for me to follow you? I'll be just a burden. It's fine. I'm going to Izru City either way. Nothing changes if one more person tags along. The two moved at a slow pace. Along the way, they had to take multiple detours to avoid strong monsters. They reached the city after a few weeks. Whoa. Neo and Cain gazed at the walls that seemed to touch the sky. Cain had a stunned expression, and Neo was inwardly shocked. The wall was long, and Neo couldn't see its end on the sides. Does this wall actually cover the entire city? Creating something like this shouldn't be easy. Before the two could say anything, a tiny section at the wall's bottom opened. A woman, green hair, milk-white skin, came out of the wall's gate. Several soldiers stood behind her. Welcome to Izru, wanderers, she curtsied. I can see you two have gone through immense struggles to reach this place. You don't need to worry. Our city is a safe haven, a paradise. Neo stayed silent. Cain's expression hardened. Something is wrong, he whispered to Neo. Why? This place is too welcoming. I've seen cities fall because the citizens fought for resources. And she is inviting random people like us without any questions. The woman heard Cain even though he had whispered. Chapter 207, Trait Death. Oh, was I too forward? She let go of her professional demeanor and relaxed, smiling bitterly. Our city is always in need of strong awakeners. This is why we welcome wanderers like you too. Of course, you need to tell us your traits if you want to enter the city. Cain relaxed visibly after she spoke normally. He looked at Neo and nodded. Neo returned his nod before turning to the woman. We want to enter the city. Then follow me. We'll register your identities before you enter the city. The city wall was dozens of meters thick. The woman, Callista, took them to a room that was built inside the wall. Please tell me your name, age, and trait. Her eyes glowed when she posed the question. Kane Millens, 43 years old. I'm not an awakener. I was rescued by Neo while he was on his way to Isru. Neo Hargraves, 17 years old. My trait is death. Death. Callista frowned as she adjusted her glasses. Neo nodded. He didn't bother lying, since the glowing eyes of the woman and the way she acted hinted that she could detect lies. Demigod's bloodline skills and awakener's traits are the same thing, so this shouldn't be a lie. What does your trait do? I can kill myself. A strange silence descended. A- anything else? No, that's all my death can do. She adjusted her glasses awkwardly and stared at Neo. He isn't lying. But how? Is this possible? I've heard about all kinds of absurd traits, however, this is a first, she mumbled to herself, shocked. Wait. A strange gleam appeared in her eyes. How do you know about your trait? You would have died if you used it. Callista's question was not wrong. The Akashic record had not been created yet. People had to go through countless trials and errors to learn about their traits' abilities. Someone told me. Someone. They might have the ability to see others' traits, or something. I don't know how they found my trait. You believe someone just because they told you your trait's information. What if they were lying, or if they judged your trait inaccurately? I can guarantee that they would not lie about my trait, Neo said, and thought. The Akashic Record's core principle is to reveal only truth and no falsehood to the demigods. I see. Callista's brows creased. Her lie detection told her Neo was not lying. Everything he said was truth. She asked Neo and Kane more questions. It was only after she completed the proceedings that her brows relaxed. She allowed them entry to the city with a smile on her face. Please enjoy your stay in the city. Someone will come to you tomorrow and help you adjust in our Isru. Until then, you can enjoy the festival. She said enthusiastically. Festival? Kane questioned. Yeah, we hold one every month to boost the morale of our citizens. Neo and Kane entered the city. The city's condition surprised them. Shops selling goods, pedestrians on roads. It was as if the apocalypse had never arrived. Either someone very strong is living here, or something is very wrong. Neo's thoughts halted. He stared at the streetlight. What are you looking at? Kane questioned. You can't see it. It's nothing. Let's join the festival. Kane felt something was wrong. He saw Neo staring at random streetlights. The two reached the place. They received discounts whenever they revealed they had entered the city only today. Young man, you should go to the 13th Street Avenue. The real show takes place there. A shopkeeper told. The festive atmosphere was infectious. Soon Kane started to enjoy himself and he let go of his worries. Neo, we should go to the 13th Street Avenue. I want to see what's happening there. Neo nodded silently. He hadn't said a word since they entered deeper into the city. The two continued their tour. Whoa. Kane gasped when he witnessed the performance at 13th Avenue Street. Time passed, and soon it was evening. The host of the show picked up the mic and stood at the front of the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, how's the festival? The crowd shouted, showing their appreciation. I can't hear you. Louder. The cheers boomed. I'm happy that all of you like our exhibitions and shows we prepared for the 232nd Isru Festival. Now, it's time for the main event. The thunderous cheers intoxicated Kane. He shouted along. Let the main event begin. The host pulled the curtain that had been covering the stage behind him. A man about to be hanged was revealed. I didn't do anything. Those charges are false. The man shouted. Now, our dear citizens, the host said. Who else agrees with him? Your next journey awaits at MVLE Novelfire. No one. Kill the filthy king. Bring us justice. Freedom. Well said. The host shouted. It is time for justice. The platform below the hanged man disappeared. He fell and his neck snapped. Kane was snapped out of his stupor when he heard the man's neck break. He grew flustered, his breathing became quick. What was that? I felt like I've been in a daze since I entered this city. Something was wrong. Very, very wrong. Kane realized he had been acting too free-spirited since he entered the city. He was an old man. It wasn't like him to act in a childish way. Neo. Kane shook Neo. Neo. There was no response. The host continued his exhibition. We finally hanged the corrupt king. Long live freedom. Long live freedom. Long live freedom. Kane's body trembled. He had to run. Escape. Kane grabbed Neo's hand and tried to pull him away when suddenly he was pushed by the crowd. He fell and quickly rose to his feet. His eyes wandered and he looked at the streetlight. Hanged corpses dangled on streetlights. Fear gripped Kane's heart. Before he could run, the haze covered his mind again. What was I doing? Kane muttered. He looked around. When he didn't find anything wrong, he returned to cheering along with the crowd. Neo, who had been watching everything, pursed his lips. So the mind control can be broken when you receive a powerful shock. He could feel a foreign power trying to influence his mind. His skill, Eternal, gave him resistance against status effects, which included mental attack resistance. My skill should keep me safe for some time. He turned his gaze to the stage. A city under mind control, he muttered. Saving these people will definitely help me increase my fame. Even as he spoke, he could feel the foreign power trying to control his mind becoming stronger. Chapter 208, Anomaly Number 33, Hanged King's Tragedy. The night deepened. Neo and Kane were guided by a city council member to temporary residence. You will be given jobs tomorrow based on your expertise. Until then, this will be your residence, the city council member said. Thanks, Kane smiled. He entered his room. Neo stepped into the room given to him. He went to the balcony and stared at the moon outside. I need to kill the monster to save the city. But where is the monster? During the day, he and Kane roamed around the city to enjoy the festival. Neo had tried to discreetly search for the monster back then. His first thought was to look for places with high concentrations of divine energy. The problem was, the entire city was covered by a thick blanket of divine energy. It was hard to pinpoint the monster. And those hanged corpses. Neo looked down from the balcony, at the streetlights. This situation looks similar to the reports of Anomaly Number 33. Traits of powerful and well-known monsters and anomalies were taught to students in the academy. While Anomaly Number 33 was an extinct monster, it was famous because of its notorious deeds during the Age of Gods. However, since the monster was old, only a bit of information about it was known. Anomaly Number 33, Phenomena-type monster. It controls people and makes them go through the play Hanged King's Tragedy. Neo massaged his brows. Phenomena-type monsters did not have physical bodies. They existed as abstract concepts. In other words, the play Hanged King's Tragedy itself was the Anomaly Number 33. Well, I guess it's a good thing the reports had the method to defeat Anomaly Number 33 at least. I just need to make sure my mind control resistance keeps working until I can find the core of Anomaly Number 33. Neo stretched his fingers and yawned. He decided to retire for the night. His consciousness blurred as he lay on the bed. Neo's senses blared alarms. He triggered Ocean's Embrace spell instinctively. A powerful force hit his abdomen, and he was sent flying back. His body broke through the walls of multiple buildings and crashed into the road. Damn it. Let me sleep in peace. Neo dusted his clothes. While the attack took him by surprise, he had no injury thanks to Ocean's Embrace protecting him. You. Blasphemer, who saw my face. Found you. The statue, 4 meters tall, had defined muscles and physique. It stood before Neo, doing a side chest pose. Neo stared at it, confused. Why are you doing a pose? Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. I don't like people who saw my face. The monster alternated to a front lap pose. Contrary to its weird actions, it had a furious face, with which it glared at Neo bloodthirstily. Neo sensed another presence in the vicinity. He noticed the second statue, crawling on 4 legs like a spider on top of the buildings. It had a similar furious expression as it muttered. You saw my face. My precious face. The first monster dashed towards Neo. It pulled its fist back and punched towards his head. The monster's hand shattered as if it had hit a stone. Before it could react, Neo stepped closer to it and punched its chest. The monster's body exploded. He picked a small pebble-sized rubble and flicked it towards the second naked statue monster. The pebble shot through the monster's head. Dead, the monster fell from the building and crashed on top of a Honda Civic. The battle ended within seconds. Instead of being happy, Neo had a frown on his face. These two were stronger than the last statue monster. The statue monsters were weird. How did they find Neo? Their numbers increased from 1 to 2, and they grew stronger. Was it a coincidence? Shit. Kane. Neo's eyes widened, realizing Kane must have been attacked too. He bolted towards his temporary residence. Reaching the place, he saw the building demolished. Neo looked around and noticed destroyed roads, as if something huge had gone through them. He followed the clues swiftly. It didn't take long for him to find two statue monsters chasing Kane. Kane was slipping into alleys, using the monster's large size against them to stay alive. Kane! Neo shouted. Duck! Kane twisted his head and noticed Neo. In a split second, he rolled away. Neo, high in the air, punched without holding back. The shockwaves roared like thunder, and the compressed air detonated towards the monsters. Their bodies were crushed under the overwhelming force, reduced to a pulp in an instant. Neo landed on the ground and approached Kane. You alright? Discover exclusive tales on Beale Novel Fire. HH. Kane muttered through the heavy gaps. I'm alive, yeah. He isn't under mind control, Neo noticed. Seems like the shock of being attacked snapped him out of mind control. Thank you. Kane stood up with Neo's help. He stared at what was left of the monsters and opened his mouth carefully. Were there two statue monsters this time? Yeah. Oh god. Kane's expression crumbled. The rumors were true. These face monsters won't let anyone go once they saw their face. Even if we defeat them, they'll keep chasing. Kane stopped speaking. His eyes grew hazy. He bowed. Thank you for saving me, Neo. Monster attacks are rare in ours. Today was an exception. The security must have been lax because of the festival, Kane said. I see. Neo noticed Kane's hazy eyes. Knowing he was back under anomaly number 33's control, he didn't bother pointing out the holes in Kane's answer. Let's go. I want to see where these monsters came from. A quick search was enough to explain everything. The statue monsters had climbed over the walls and dashed straight to Neo and Kane's location. If more of these monsters will keep coming, it's better to deal with them now. Neo took a step to leave the city when suddenly Kane grabbed his hand. What are you doing? There is no need for you to deal with those monsters. The city will protect you. They sure did protect me today. Today was a mistake. Ours doesn't repeat a mistake twice. It's why our city has been standing for 20 years. Neo tried to pull his hand away. Kane, surprisingly, showed superhuman strength and held Neo's hand. Kane isn't an awakener. How can he exert so much strength? Neo's frown worsened. Seems like anomaly number 33 can increase the physical strength of targets under its mind control. This wasn't in the report. Neo knew the reports were incomplete. But this was a major gap in information. Chapter 209, Cognitive Manipulation. Kane's grip on Neo's hand grew stronger. Neo could pull his hand away if he was serious, but the city is awake. He could sense the people inside the buildings waiting to jump out and hold Neo down if Neo planned to leave the city. I'll have to massacre them if I want to leave. That is exactly opposite to my goal. Neo wanted to sigh. I'm starting to feel like shit. He clicked his tongue. He looked at Kane and nodded. Got it. I won't leave the city. Yes, that's what you should do. Dangerous monsters come out at night. You'll be safe only if you are within the city. Kane smiled and let go of his hold over Neo's hand. Neo followed him back to the temporary residence. The city council members, police, city's awakeners, and more were waiting for the two of them. They thanked Neo for saving them. The city's response had been slow in taking down the statue monsters. If not for him, there would have been major damage. Neo and Kane were given different temporary residences. They were given jobs in the city's mayor's office the next day. Neo noticed something peculiar. The mayor's office is empty. I guess the man they hanged yesterday was the mayor. He questioned a coworker while on the job. When will the new mayor be elected? Elected? The coworker thought about his words. We don't do elections. Instead, we choose the most outstanding citizen as the mayor. The job hours ended in the evening. Neo took a tour of the city in his free time. The bustling city had busy streets, towering buildings, vibrant markets, public parks, and diverse communities living amidst modern conveniences. It was a stark contrast to the image of apocalypse. He noticed the damage left behind by the statue monsters was repaired completely. He massaged the bridge of his nose. So that's how the city looked so beautiful. Anomaly number 33 has the ability to restore the damage to the buildings. An idea appeared in Neo's mind. I might be able to find the core of anomaly number 33 when it comes to repair the damage again. Should I destroy something intentionally? Thankfully, he didn't need to do that. 6 statue monsters, stronger than the previous ones, infiltrated the city at night. 3 monsters chased Neo. 3 went after Kane. Neo took them down with relative ease. No one came to help again. He pursed his lips. This confirms it. The statue monsters and anomaly number 33 are independent. The statue monsters attacked anyone who saw their face. Explore more at MVL Novel Fire. Anomaly number 33 didn't use any citizen to fight the statue monsters, since it would end up painting a target on its own back if any citizen saw the face of the statue monsters. After analyzing the situation, Neo got to other work. He waited near the destroyed part of the city. He wanted to see how anomaly number 33 would repair the damage. Hours passed. Nothing changed. Neo blinked, and the repair was complete. Fuck. He massaged the bridge of his nose. There is no way the anomaly number 33 can repair the damage instantly. To do that, it has to use time stop, time jump, or something else combined with the time element. I should have been able to sense it with my time affinity if it used the time element. That means. Neo clicked his tongue. Cognitive manipulation. It repaired the city in front of my eyes, but I couldn't see it since it altered my senses. Cognitive manipulation was easier than mind control. Even if anomaly number 33 couldn't exert complete control over Neo's mind, it seemed capable of altering his senses. Neo could analyze anomaly number 33's abilities thanks to everything he had learned in the academy. If not for it, he would have been helpless in the current situation, unable to comprehend how anomaly number 33 was doing everything. Neo could not find anomaly number 33's core in his subsequent investigations. Searching for a phenomenon-type monster turned out to be a lot harder than Neo had imagined. The situation with statue monsters repeated. Their numbers increased each day by 1, and they grew stronger. Neo's circumstances worsened. Anomaly number 33's control over his mind was increasing. He had to defeat the anomaly quickly, or his mind resistance would not be able to protect him anymore. Using citizens in front of statue monsters is useless. During the past few days, Neo confirmed one thing. Anomaly number 33 avoided any confrontation with statue monsters, probably because it was weaker. The statue monsters should have targeted the anomaly number 33 if a citizen, under anomaly number 33's control, saw the statue monster's face. But the anomaly number 33 lets go of the citizen's mind as soon as there is even a slight chance of the citizen looking at the monster's face. Neo massaged his brows as he sat in the comfy chair. Not everything remained the same. He was now hailed as the city's hero. It was all thanks to him defeating the statue monsters that invaded the city every night. Kane approached Neo while he was busy with his job. Neo. I have good news. You've been selected as a mayor candidate. Everyone loves you because of how hard you've been working to protect the city. Kane was ecstatic. He threw a party on Neo's behalf. The other co-workers congratulated Neo. Congrats on becoming the mayor. Neo's eyes snapped open. He was on stage, receiving the medal and certificate that signified his position as mayor. His heart thrummed against his chest. How am I here? The stage was set in the heart of the city square, illuminated by hanging lanterns and spotlights. The gathered crowd, a sea of excited faces, cheered and clapped as their new mayor, Neo, stepped onto the wooden platform. Neo stood at the center, wearing tailored suit. His posture remained both poised and tense. The last thing I remember is Kane telling me I became a mayor candidate. Now, I'm suddenly the mayor. Memories surged inside Neo's mind. They showed him what he had been doing in the past few days. Everything was normal in those memories. He spent his time as he usually would. But mind control. Anomaly number 33 had been controlling my mind for the past few days. A single glance at the memories was enough for Neo to understand the situation. His mental resistance had been breached. Why did I suddenly break free of mind control? The question arose in Neo's mind. From my observations, only a shock to the mind can break the mind control. So how did I wake up? Wait. Watching the smiling citizens, Neo realized he hadn't woken up by himself. Chapter 210, The Play of Anomaly number 33. Anomaly number 33 let him wake up. He was a puppet in the play orchestrated by Anomaly number 33. The monster wanted to let Neo be aware of this fact. Mayor. We should eliminate the threats to our city. Neo woke up from haze again. He was sitting in the mayor's office. Three people stood before him with furious and anxious gazes. What do you mean by that? Neo's mouth moved on his own. Anomaly number 33 is controlling my body, he realized. Seems like it wants me to know what is happening. We can't let this continue anymore. Mayor. Those statue monsters have been attacking the city for 2 weeks. You have to face 30 of them every night. It won't be long before those monsters will overwhelm you with their growing numbers. The oldest person among the trio exclaimed. What are you trying to say? Neo questioned, his body under anomaly number 33's control. We should expel Kane Carter from ours. He might be your friend, but his presence is a threat to our city. Neo played with the pen while thinking over the man's words. The statue monsters' targets were Neo and Kane. Those monsters would invade the city each day. No matter how many Neo killed, they would return stronger. If that is true, I should also leave the city. Kane isn't the only one being targeted. I'm also a target of those monsters. No. That isn't true. Your case is different. You are fighting those monsters, but Kane is just hiding. He doesn't deserve your grace. Neo slammed his hand over the desk. He glared at the man. Kane is not going to be expelled. I won't sacrifice anyone. Neo's consciousness grew hazy. He woke up in the evening a few days later. I can control my body this time. He clenched his fist and opened it. What is anomaly number 33 trying to do? Just as he was about to leave his office, he heard murmurs from the outside. Hey, do you really think Mayor? Shh. Shut up. Mayor is just one wall away from us. What if he hears us? He is an awakener with high senses. Does it really matter? Half of the city is talking about the rumors already. Neo frowned. He dug into his memories, checking what had been happening while he was asleep, and his body and mind were under anomaly number 33's control. In his memory, a group of awakeners stormed into his office. They claimed Neo used his position as the mayor to have a girl do night shifts. Neo threw them out without listening to their allegations. The people were angry. But they couldn't do much when the girl herself said Neo did not do anything unsavory to her. The rumors of the incident spread. As time passed, more women came out with evidence of Neo's wrong deeds. This is a headache. Neo massaged his brows. The city had been divided into two factions due to the current incidents. The first faction believed Neo was innocent. After all, Neo was fighting statue monsters every night, even the ones chasing Kane, without asking for compensation. He was a saint, according to the first faction. The second faction was against Neo. They believed Neo's saintly deeds were a cover for his true nefarious self. Neo heard the murmurs from the office next door. Think about it. Mayor calls himself Divine Ruler. Isn't this weird? He was a lone wanderer. How can someone like that be called a ruler? This just means. It means. The coworker urged his partner to continue. Mayor must be the leader of a community somewhere else. That's why he calls himself a ruler. Are you stupid? There is no way someone who rules a community would become a lone wanderer in these times. Ahaha, I bet he was exiled from the community after they caught whiff of his evil deeds. He must have come to ours to sink his fangs into our city after being thrown out of his own place. Neo didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he heard the gossip. Anomaly number 33 was using his plan of using Divine Ruler against him. Valencia, Spain, Memory Shadow World. Ugh. HHH. Jack doubled over. Blood spilled from his torso. He raised his head slightly to look at the men laughing at him. Ahaha, I can't believe this fucker was duped so easily. LOL. It was thanks to my acting though. Please save. Please. They kidnapped my daughter. They laughed heartily. Tears slipped from Jack's eyes. What had he done wrong? He only tried to help them. Was it wrong for him to show kindness to others? Watching them laugh made Jack's blood boil. He glared at them. They are hideous. The people of this era killed, looted, unleashed their impure desires by saying they were doing their best to survive. I want to kill them. The pain from his injuries muddled his thoughts. Yes, this is fine. They are just shadows in the end. There won't be any consequences even if I murder them. Until now, he had held back because they looked like humans. Jack closed his eyes, and a small chuckle left his lips. Sorry, Neo. I'm not strong enough to hold on to my morals. The men realized something was wrong. Read exclusive adventures at MVL Novelfire.net. The air around Jack had changed. From a wimpy kid who was afraid of dying to one who was afraid to kill or be killed. His eyes were lifeless. Jack chanted. "Oh darkness." The air in the room churned. Hey, stop him. You do it. Consume my enemies. The shadows beneath Jack stretched. Before the men could react, a jaw of darkness clamped down on their heads and ate everything above their necks in one gulp. The corpses fell with a dull thud. Jack stood up with a stagger. He opened his shadow space and consumed a sip of healing potion. His eyes wandered to the corpses, at the blood spilling out from their necks. He formed hand signs. Darkness. Devour. The darkness beneath him bloomed. As the darkness chewed the corpses, he felt a throbbing pain in his head. Jack withheld his grunts. Strength +5. Plus strength debuff incantation. Plus partial memories. The pain increased as knowledge about a new incantation and memories appeared in his head. Jack ignored the incantation. He focused on the memories. They showed him the lives of the men he consumed. Disgusting freaks. Jack bit his lips. They were far worse than he had imagined. I shouldn't have let them die so easily. He raised his head and stared at the destroyed city. The men he defeated weren't alone. There was a group of them that attacked unsuspecting wanderers and took advantage of them. Men were killed or used for manual labor like slaves. Women were treated like toys and thrown away after they broke. That wasn't all. Cannibalism, torture, organ trafficking, illegal human experimentation, human sacrifices. There was no end to what had been happening. This place is a paradise. Jack massaged his temples. The voices of darkness were threatening to overwhelm him. I can eat all of them without gaining any guilty conscience. His thoughts were incoherent and jarring. There was a reason why people advised against using darkness. It drove its users insane. But Jack had no intention of stopping. I'll conquer darkness. I can do it. Was it because he hated this place? Or because he wanted to grow stronger? Or was it because Jack was being influenced by darkness already? Jack wanted to tear everything down. Even if he had to use darkness for it. Neo woke up. He looked around, noticing himself on a rooftop. The moon shined dimly, casting a weak glow on him and Kane. I should leave the city, Kane muttered. These rumors are all appearing because they hate you for not kicking me out. If I leave, they won't target you anymore. Neo didn't answer Kane. He had no intention of doing so. This fucking anomaly number 33. Kane was currently under anomaly number 33's control. The words he spoke were spoken by the monster. It's enjoying controlling us like puppets. The anomaly number 33 was weaving a story. It allowed Neo to wake up from its control to show him, the audience, the play. Neo shook his head. Enjoy it while you can. The play will end soon. His consciousness dulled. Neo woke up inside the office. What are you doing? The door burst open, and the city's police entered swiftly. They were shocked when they found the leader of the defense team lying bloodied on the floor. Neo held a sword in his hand and stared at the almost dead defense team leader. Mayor. Why did you kill him? The policeman questioned. Stop shouting, Neo scoffed, his body under anomaly number 33's control. He is alive. I punished him because he ambushed me inside my office. Yes, I ambushed you. The defense team leader glared at Neo. I'll kill you. You are not a benevolent mayor. You are a tyrant. Even my sister. The defense team leader cried. What did she do to have been targeted by you?